gorilla stomping in a zoo. Check the vocals, animals gather right. Boom.
Hey everybody, and welcome back for another episode of our chicken coop build series. So on this episode I'm going to try and clue up the windows. In particular, we got to frame out one more, the window on the back, and then these two side vents here. We'll try to get at least that much done. Hopefully it won't take too long, but I've been proven wrong before when I say that. As far as any updates go to other videos, you may have noticed us doing some as far as the gardening and odds and ends around the house. Not too much in the way of the update. Now, the lettuce that we planted, 3 out of the 12 lettuce plants have actually been chewed up significantly by some kind of pest. What that is, not quite sure. I may have to go out sometime in the middle of the night and with a flashlight see if I can catch the culprits in the act. But until I know what we're dealing with, not really sure what product or procedure to go about in preventing it. As well, you may have noticed we have baby birds out in the well house, in the 2 tree houses I have, not tree houses, bird houses that I have built in the top of the well house. And those birds have since grown up and moved on. So today I actually hauled out all the old nesting and feces and all that, and got some soapy water in there, scrubbed it all out and rinsed it. So those should be drying out as we speak. Any other updates? Nothing too much. Like I say, it's been a while since making a chicken coop video. Between my wife working and doing a few odds and ends with the garden and trying to find time while also enjoying the nice weather, it's been tight. So I'm actually out here now, and it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning, believe it or not. And I got it in my head, I had a nap earlier, I woke up at midnight, so I was like, oh, now what? I might as well go do some work on the chicken coop. So here I am. Hopefully it won't be making too much noise to get on the neighbors' nerves. Their bedroom is a bit close to the side of my shed here, but never had an issue in the past, and I don't expect one. So I'm just that's just a thought in my head. So with all that said, we are going to get started at these side windows first. I got a few different procedures planned to hopefully make that go a bit easier. In particular, I'm going to take the windows themselves and use the table saw and take a little bit of the plywood off before we even begin, to give a little more spacing around the window itself. And hopefully by doing that we'll avoid any of the problems we were experiencing before. But anything could happen. That's the way this has been going. So with all that said, let's get started, see what happens. Fingers crossed, everything goes to plan. So for taking some material off the top and bottom of the windows, I'm not going to go overboard with it. So I'll bring my rail all the way up to the blade, and that is zeroed out currently on the rail measurement scale, and I'm going to go to just 1/8 of an inch. Alright, so you can barely see any spacing between the blade and the rail. So by the time I take 1/8 off either side, that'll be a full 1/4 inch of play, and I would hope that that's going to be enough to give us the desired results. So I'll lock that rail in place right there. And with that, I'll get a window and we're ready to try that out. Alright, fingers crossed. So you can see there the width of what we just took off. Not much at all, but it should make a great difference in fitting that into the window. So that's one done. I'll go get the other and then we'll go from there. There's our material, 2 nice easy strips done, and our 2 windows should hopefully be ready to go into place. Hopefully we don't need to be beveling down these sides again, but anything is possible and we'll deal with that as we go once again. So next on the list is to get our measurements for these windows. So from side to side, we're looking at 25 inches. Adding on that 1.5 inches to either side to accommodate the width of the trim on the sides. That's going to give us a measurement of 28 inches. Alright, so we'll start with this one. I'll go do my 2 28-inch pieces for the top and bottom. Once those are installed, then I'll do my measurement for the side pieces. And we'll go from there. So I'll go do those cuts right now, and in a flash we'll be right back. Alright, so with that cut done, we are ready to get this started. So line it up with the corners. Now this window opening here, when I was cutting out the plywood, I guess my plunge cuts weren't as straight as I thought they were. So there's a little bit of a wave in the plywood. So now when I'm got this lined up with the window, I can already tell by eye that this is not perfectly level. So I'm going to get it level and have a look. So now with that level, you can see there's some extra plywood showing here. So that's the beauty of this trim, is that's going to cover up that little mistake that we made. It's not a big deal. It's like, you know, 1/8 of an inch, but it is noticeable to me, who's up close and personal with it. But it's not going to bother me to cover it up in trim, and that'll be hidden away there. So let's get some glue on this, and we'll get it nailed into place. And that looks to be level right there. Alright, just like that, top piece is done. Continue on to the bottom. Whether or not we'll have the same story here is yet to be seen. This one's not so bad. Get some glue on there. So now with those mounted, I'll get my measurements for the outside pieces. We're looking at 10 1/8 and 10 1/8. So although my cut was a little bit, skewed, in the end they are equal. It's just that the whole thing is kind of shifted, So anyways, that's not going to stop us. So we'll cut two pieces now, 10 1/8. We'll come back and get those in place. Okay, so those cuts are completed. We'll get these pieces glued up and then we'll nail them in place. And now that we got our outside frame completed, we will lay in the window. Get that up into place. Looks great. We got lots of room on top and bottom now with those strips taken out. So I'll go ahead, take my measurements for the inside frame, make those cuts. We'll come back, attach it to the door, and hopefully everything goes okay. Alright, so we're back. Those cuts done once again. So we get this glued up. Now, so where I cut a little bit off, I'll have to lift the window up as best I can. Hold that in place while needing a third hand. Try to hold that in place and line this up to get it ready to be nailed. Alright, so that should give us what we're looking for. Putting a bit of a downward angle on the nails. Just trying to avoid it coming out here, which it worked. Very nice. Alright, so that's good. Next piece, I'm going to do the same deal. I'm just going to give it a quick little test fit. Looks great. Get some glue on here. So same thing, I'm going to use this piece now to lift the window up into place once I get it here. Because I want to lift it up as much as possible so that the plywood and 2x4 on the bottom end is up out of the way and doesn't rub. Okay. That should be good. No nails showing, which is great. And when it's in place, spacing looks nice. I'll see if my measurements still hold true. And they do. Wow, that's nice. So I'll get the side pieces started. Just like so. Third one for good measure. Last piece for this window. Also a good fit. Get that glued. See if there's a nicer side. There we go. This one will do. there we are. That's this window framed, just missing a couple of hinges. So we may have some opening issues, maybe. If we do, again, it is the plywood. I'll bevel cut that and we'll be fine. So we're not going to get the hinges on this yet. I'm going to frame out the other window, then we'll come back and deal with the hinges and any kind of beveling that needs to be done. Alright, so I got those cuts made and we are ready to fit the frame on this window. Okay, on to the next piece. And onwards we go to the side pieces. Okay, so that's our outside frame done. We'll do the same deal, get the window in place after we get our measurements, of course, and get that put in. So I'll go do some cuts for the framing for the inside. We'll come right back, get all that fit together. Alrighty, so we got those cuts made, and once again ready to proceed. Okay, there's one on. Nails went good. Onwards we go. Same deal, trying to get this up out of the way as much as possible. Didn't really work on the other side. We still got to bevel off some of that plywood. But hopefully it's less than we would have if we weren't mounting that up as tight to the top as we could, you know. And those nails sank in just fine. So now let's check the fitment of the side pieces. Looks good. Yeah, no problems there. Alright, so that's window number 2 framed out. I think they look beautiful, but we got to do some beveling. So I'll get that figured out, how much is going to have to be done where, and we'll get that beveled. Then we'll get some hinges and get these into place. So when it comes to beveling off these windows now, first thing I need to do is get the screws out. Obviously, a blade passing through a screw is not really the best procedure to follow. Okay, so this is the bottom. This is the plywood that's causing the issue. Now, one thing I can do is get a straight edge and draw a line to follow with the skill saw, okay? When you're doing an angled cut using a skill saw, you really want to try and have a line to follow, because it can get out of shape pretty quick. So there's our line. Skill saw, I just got it set to the maximum of 50 degrees. See, when I hold it up straight, we got the angle. So when I put that down, the blade will be facing more towards you there. And I'll just follow along. And we're going to be using this side of the gap. Anyways, let's proceed and get this done. There you go, that's our plywood beveled down. So I'll go test fit that now and see if that was enough. So far, from what I can tell, the bevel should be enough, but there's always the possibility of that not being so, and I won't know for sure until I got the hinges on. So I'll start off with a set of hinges. Like I say, you're going to be holding this up in place. I'm going to be beginning by placing my hinge, if I can get it open here. A little bit stiff, these hinges are. Alright, so I'm going to be starting off with the hinge up even with the top of my top trim. Getting a little bit of resistance, but I'm thinking it's over on the side here. That should be fine. A little bit of WD-40 for these whisper quiet hinges. There we are. That one is done. And we'll get latches on all these in a little while. But that was definitely the issue. A little bit of rub over there. So ideally the window would swing up into the eave here. But I am happy enough to have it like this as well, with a little latch to come down, attach to it somewhere, whether it's out from the top. I'll figure out where to put a hook to keep this open. So when it's time to vent, we'll just open these up, hook it in, and we're golden. Alright, on to number 2. Alright, so we got our second door ready, beveled. I even did some planing on the side there in between. So we'll go ahead and start getting that mounted in place. There we go. First try for that one, which is nice. Excellent. there we are. 2 windows done. So the only window that's left now is to frame out the rear window, the one above the vent, that we never had enough material for last time. As you can tell, I've obviously gone and gotten some more trim, painted it off camera, and that's why we're back in business right now. Which was part of the delay in getting back to work on this, but not a big part of it. Just had some stuff going on. Anyways, let's go frame up that rear window, and then we'll see where we are from there. Alright, so to save us some time, I went ahead, did the cuts, and we'll get this piece together here now. Alright, so that's another one framed out, and we'll continue to progress from here. Alright, so we're making good progress at this point. It's time to do probably one of the more difficult, it's probably not even going to be too difficult, to be honest with you. Hopefully it goes to plan, but that is to make windows. Alright, we got our window openings, but we got no windows. I'm not going to put actual glass in there. So what I have is this big sheet of poly, I guess it is, this acrylic sheet. Alright, so this is 2.4 mil thick, and it has this peelable cover on it. So that is to help it stay together and allow you to cut it and keep it from getting scratched when transporting it, all that good stuff. So I got my measurements for the 2 windows, so I'm going to set up the table saw is what I'm going to use to cut this. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the length and width of each window opening and taking off 1/8. I want it tight, but 1/8 should give it enough wiggle room to get it in place. And then once it's in place, I don't have it in my hand here now, but I got some 1/4 inch round trim, and I'll be cutting those to length and getting those in. I may put actual full-sized 1x2 trim on the inside and then the 1/4 round on the outside. I'll see about that as we go. As well, I need to apply caulking down in the corners around the window to make it watertight. So I'll set up the table saw to do our cuts, and we'll cut out our windows and see how it goes. Alright, so with our acrylic cut, we'll be able to fit that in place. Alright, like so. You know, eventually. Let's try rotating it this way. There we we are. Alright, so we'll have that in place, and I'll put some regular trim behind it, and then in this opening here, that's where I'll put the 1/4 inch round. Alright, so it'll be pretty much even with the side of the coupe, and we'll use the trim, and we'll continue the trim with the 1/4 inch round. Alright, so first and foremost, we get our measurements on the inside. I'm just going to cut straight strips of trim and butt that up against the back of the acrylic, and that should be fine. Okay. So I'll get my measurements, make those cuts, and we'll come back and tack those in place. Alrighty, so now I have my cuts made. So since I'm going to be having a hard time getting back at this again once it's locked in place, I'll go ahead and do the very nice process of peeling the cover off of this. One side. Now find a spot to get our thumbnail under this. There we are. So that's in nice shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that, figure out which way it fits best. Which is that way, I believe. Then I'm going to take my 12-inch trim along the bottom, fit that in there like that. So I got a little small lip of this trim on the outside, so it actually works well since it butts up against the plexi, butts up against it. So it gives me a pretty accurate spot to just go ahead and tack that in place. Alright, so now we'll take our other piece. We're going to line that up somewhat carefully to get it where we want it. So I'm thinking somewhere around there should be nice. Don't need to be too precise with this. Alright, so now that we got that piece in as well, we got our two side pieces. Again, not needing to be too precise, just kind of match up the edges. There we are, that's the inside trim done. Alright, so the plexi just goes up against that. I'll cut my 1/4 inch round, put some caulking down, push the 1/4 inch round into that, give it a few tacks. Alright, so I'm going to go get my 1/4 inch round, make the cuts to fit in here. I'll be right back. Alright, so in between, off camera, I did all the cuts. It was a bit more intricate to making these cuts on 1/4 round than I thought, actually. But I came back to test fit them in, and I realized that I don't think I really need caulking on here. I think this is going to be pretty weather tight by itself, and I think if I need anything on there, it can be added after the fact. I think anything beyond this is just going to make it messy, and this is fitting. You know, I don't know if I can get the back window as good as I've got this one, but like the measurements were so tight and accurate that I think we're fine. Even if I put a little bit of paint over this in the end to seal a few of these little gaps, I think paint would be enough to seal this, to be honest. So I've swapped out my nail gun and put 1-inch nails in it. And I'm just going to go ahead and tack this into place. Or acrylic, whatever it is. And it's actually going quite nice. And there we are. So that's our front window done. Very nice. Alright, so I'm going to repeat that process on the rear window. We already got our acrylic cut. It's just a matter of doing the trim, like we said. So we'll head back there now and glue that one up. So now with the inside trim on, we'll test fit our plexi again. Alright, so I'll go ahead, do the measurements for the quarter round, get those cut, and be right back, and we'll put that on as well. So before we put in the 1/4 inch round, once again we got to do this part. This is always so satisfying. There we are. We'll just lay that in place for now. Alright, so let's get the quarter round put in place. So far so good. Very similar to the front door, how they'll fit in nicely. There we are. That is the rear window done. So, as of now, for the inside coop, other than the nesting box, we have full weather tightness, say, other than the venting. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is another 3-hour session in the books. Alright, we got our windows complete, we got our window shutters complete. All in all, great session, and everything actually went pretty smooth this time around, and I think that's the benefit of me filming everything that I'm doing, is that we learned from the previous doors where the beveling issues were, what parts of the plywood were seizing against each other, and we were able to adapt, whereas now you, the viewer, should now learn from my mistakes that if you plunge cut out a window and you want to go back and use that window again as a shutter or whatever, that maybe you do want to take that extra 1/8 inch off all the way around instead of just putting it back in like a puzzle piece, which would have saved me a lot of trouble if I just took off an extra 1/8 all the way around of the piece that I took out. But I was trying to pretty much insert the exact piece that I took out with only a skill saw blade width after being eaten away from each edge. So I really think that's one of the benefits of me including all these footage. You know, it ends up in long videos, but you're seeing every step. So, you know, if you're going through an episode at a time, you're only dedicating, just under an hour or thereabouts for an episode, but you may have learned something that will save you 3 hours that I probably spent 3 hours on and cut it down, in that footage. So, hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. All I know is this chicken coop is turned out pretty awesome. Alright, I gotta say it. Well, the picture that was in my mind of a chicken coop is coming out in front of me, and it's awesome to make that happen, you know. Definitely lots of hurdles along the way, lots of learning, lots of fixing mistakes, and lots of making mistakes to have to go back and fix them. And, you know, is it perfect? Definitely not. But in my mind, it's definitely up to par with how I want to treat my chickens, alright? And try and prepare for the winter. Now, is this going to be, you know, the end of the design? I can guarantee you it's not. I got many things planned for this chicken coop over the coming, you know, coming years or months, whatever you want to say, depending on when I get to it. But getting the basic structure down is our goal right now, getting it out on the land. And that's probably going to take place in 2 episodes time, I would think. Because next episode, we're going to tackle the nesting box. That's going to be a full episode in itself, I think, doing the lid for that and getting it fit properly and everything onto it, the roofing. At least we don't need to paint it, alright? So it's going to be similar to this roof, where we put roof edging around it, trim, felt paper, and in the end we'll have some metal flashing on there as well. And then the nesting box will be done. So overall, I think we're back on track. Not that we were ever off track, but it's so nice to have those windows done. The windows and doors all done, plexiglass in, relatively weather tight. Once we get the nesting box done, she will be weather tight. And I think there should be a fun video. Once this is all done and out on the land, if the chickens don't come right away, we'll have a fun little video for you to watch. But yeah, I'm happy. I don't know if you can tell off to my side, the light is starting to come in. The sun is up. You know, we started this probably 2:45 in the morning. It's now going on 6. And, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes I get into this night owl schedule that can't help myself from being up in the nighttime. So I'm going to clean up, finish up with you guys right now. And when the family wakes up in a couple hours time, we'll get some breakfast and have another day of it. So in the meantime, I'd say 2 more episodes, guys and girls. I think 2 more episodes, nesting box, and then an episode of getting it out of here and getting the roofing on. I do need to make some perches on the inside. That'll come in time. I think I might wait for the chickens to be a bit older before I put the perches in there. And that's just going to be a bit of 2x4, okay? So there's nothing fancy there. But yeah, I think we're doing well. So thanks again for coming along. Bit late in the video to ask you to give me a thumbs up and comment and subscribe if you made it this far. Most people don't make it this far. That's just a YouTube fact. But if you did skip ahead to the end or watched to the end and you're here now, please like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Alright, all those good things that help the channel grow. And hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. We are getting so close. You can probably see it on my face. I'm getting excited. I gotta contain myself. So, I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. Take care of each other. Peace out.